Very good. Today is Wednesday, July 31st, 2024. I am Jessica Adams interviewing Louis Marx for the Dallas Hebrew Free Loan Association 90th Anniversary Project. How are you today, Louis?
I'm great, thank you.
Great. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you from Dallas originally?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Dallas. My mom still lives in the same house I grew up in over off of Midway and Royal, so real close by to here. Have been involved in the community my entire life.
What is your connection to Dallas Hebrew Free Loan Association?
Okay, so that's a good question. My dad, in his later years, was on the board of Hebrew Free Loan through most of the 90s and 2000s. And in 2002, he dragged me in to several board meetings and got me listening and interested. And I agreed to join the board for 2003. In 2003, the very first loan I ever sat in on listening to is one of those real tear-jerking, heartstring pullers that had me hooked. And just since then, I pretty much have been involved with the Hebrew Free Loan for most of my adult life. So that's really where it started.
That's great. Were you recruited by another board member to participate?
My dad.
What specific roles have you held while participating on the board and volunteering?
Oh my. Starting in 2003, I was, of course, a board member. I was the first chair of the Student Loan Committee. So when they started student loans for the first time, it was the first new loan they had in a long time, so they had its own committee. I chaired more committees than I can remember, quite honestly. We had a seated gala fundraiser at Sherith Israel one year. I don't know why that year versus other years, because it wasn't related to the age of the organization. I was one of 3 chairs for that event. My goodness, I was the treasurer for at least 8 to 10 years. Because even when I was ready to not be treasurer anymore, they didn't have anybody else qualified. My master's degree is finance. I moved on to executive vice president and then president. I represented, that's the thing I didn't think about, 11 times I represented the Dallas Hebrew Free Loan at the International Association of Jewish Free Loans Conference, which was kind of a nice way to go see a lot of the world. But at the same time, Hebrew Free Loan would pay for 500 of it, and I'd pay for the rest. So it's not a free trip, but it was worth it every time. It was fun being the Dallas representative. I co-chaired, and I gave you a visual aid for that, I co-chaired the 2010 75th Anniversary Gala with Shirley Strauss. I don't know if you've talked to Larry and Shirley yet, but if you haven't, you really should. Larry's easy to find today because he's the chair of the Jewish Studies Program Board at University of North Texas, so easy to find. But I co-chaired the 2010 gala with them. At the same time, we had the international conference here in 2010. I don't know if we've had it since then, but it was the first time we had it here in many, many years. The conference coincided with the gala, so there was still 4 other people that were chairing that project. As well. So it was a really big undertaking because it was not just a giant seated gala, but it was also the international conference, and it went better than I expected. Quite frankly, it went well. And then after that, the presidency, and then after my presidency, as the immediate past president, I have to say I had been at least 100 to 150 hours a year minimum just in Hebrew Free Loan every year from 2003 until I took the presidency in 2013. 2013 and 2014, I was over 300 hours each of those years of volunteer time. And I was ready for a break, so I didn't do nearly as much as I probably should have as the immediate past president. And after that, I was asked politely to step away for a while because I wanted to get newer, younger people on the board. So I've been doing things out of my home. Like every year I do a pinball fundraiser out of my home where half the proceeds go to Hebrew Free Loan, half of them go to another charity there's a story behind that I don't know if you want me going down that road of why those two charities. But, and then most recently Jane has re-engaged me since COVID, and I haven't been on the board. I've been told to fill out the board form, and at one point I did, but then I became president of another local Jewish charity, and I've got 4 kids, time is a thing, and there's just not enough hours in the day right now. So I haven't done that, but I've been available to consult, and I've told her I'll help on this 90th anniversary in any way I can, and things like that. So I'm still doing things, but just don't have the time to be back on the board.
That's amazing. What an incredible tenure you have with that agency. What years were you president?
2013 and 2014.
2013 to 2014. Fabulous. I would like to know a little bit more about your pinball charity. Why did you select Dallas Hebrew Free Loan in addition to a second charity?
Okay, so as a side business, I own and operate the DFW Pinball League. It's the it's the oldest continually operating pinball league in Texas. People don't realize pinball's a sport, but it actually is. It's sanctioned like golf. You have the International Association that sanctions everything, and they have world rankings and all that jazz. Well, I've been a pinball collector since 2000. And I'm going to give you the short version. Tell me if you want me to expand on any of this. The old pinball machines, put them back together. It's fun. And my dad, when he died, put it in his will that I don't know how to have fun. He had this in writing, and that I get nothing. It all goes to my brothers unless I spend at least half of it on my own enjoyment. So I took that half and bought 54 pinball machines, basically, which I have a lot less today. I'm down to 30-some-odd pinball and arcade machines now, but at the time, that's what I did. Running the pinball league, we run tournaments at various locations. Another weird note is that North Texas has one of the largest concentrations of private collectors in the country. So all the events the league does are at people's private houses. Well, I won't open my house, just as a rule, unless it's for charity. It's just the way I've always been. I want to support the community. So we started doing the Alan Marx Memorial in honor of my dad pinball tournament. Well, my dad was involved after he retired with just about every charity. Rabbi Robbins at his graveside said he was an alphabet soup of charities with all the charities he was involved in. But the two he cared the most about, by far, were Hebrew Free Loan and B'nai Zion Texas region, which Texas region used to have its own board of directors. Since Cheryl Beer retired, they've nationalized. And so it doesn't exist anymore in Texas, even though it's a wonderful organization out of New York. Well, so for years and years, we did this event where all the proceeds got split between Hebrew Free Loan and B'nai Zion. COVID happened, and a couple things happened. So there was at least one year where neither of them got any of the money, and they went to 2 other charities. And after COVID, Jane and I got back together, and now Hebrew Free Loan's been one of the 2 charities again. B'nai Zion still isn't, not because I don't believe in them and support them. I still send them money every year, but I want it to be somebody I'm directly involved with. Well, most recently I've been the president of another local charity, so they've been the second recipient recently. But that's the story behind it. I wouldn't have all the machines if it wasn't for my dad, so we've tried to honor him in giving to his favorite charities, basically.
That's so cool. Very creative. What did you find the most rewarding about your time with Dallas Hebrew Free Loan?
Oh, the loans, easily. You can do everything in every volunteer space. I'm currently on the board of the Jewish Studies program at the University of North Texas, which is such an important program, especially with the state of academia right now. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't give me nearly the satisfaction of when you give a loan to somebody who just can't get the money anywhere else and has a genuine need, and they're just breaking down in tears and hugging everybody in the room because you just made their day. I go back to that first loan, the one that got me hooked in the first place. Sorry, I'm going to tear up a little bit about this one. I still remember it. The very first loan I ever heard, which is what got me hooked way back in the beginning. Old gentleman in a part of northwest Dallas that's a bunch of small houses, not the greatest neighborhood, not terrible. Retired, living on a fixed income, mostly Social Security, cars paid for, houses paid for. Goes to his bank. I was about to say the name of the bank. I probably shouldn't. And they say, well, you don't have enough income to fund the loan for your new air conditioner. His air conditioner was beyond repair, and it's June in Texas at the time. And, you know, this is then, not now. So air conditioners now are 10 grand. Back then it was only a couple grand. You know, it wasn't that much for an air conditioner, but it was enough that he needed a loan to get it. The bank told him no to a $2,500 loan. Our general loans at the time went to $2,000, I believe. And so we loaned him the $2,000, and the minute we approved that loan, he's literally in tears hugging everybody in the room because he didn't know how else he was going to get an air conditioner. You know, those are the types of memories you don't forget. Those are the types of memory hopefully you're publishing in a newsletter, say, hey, look at what your money does for us and does for the community. So
It's really powerful. What is something that you've learned about, pardon me, about the agency during your time that you wish everyone else knew that might not be common knowledge?
well, the most important thing is it's the only type of charity in existence where your money helps over and over again. On a Hebrew Free loan, the loans go out, they come back. They go out, they come back. And what's really funny is your default rate at Hebrew Free Loan, and I was the treasurer for a better part of a decade. Trust me when I tell you, your default rate at Hebrew Free Loan is less than any major bank, considerably less. These people really work to pay the money back because they're people that know they can't get the money anywhere else, and if they don't pay it back, they're never getting another one if they need it. And there are a lot of repeat borrowers that have legitimate needs.
Want to peruse and make sure I'm not missing anything that's relevant.
No problem. You didn't realize you were going to have a live studio audience today, did you?
Oh, it's so fun. What a rare opportunity for the next generation to really hear in detail about all of the really cool work your dad does for the community. It's neat, huh? Yeah, he has a good legacy for y'all. Answered some of the other questions. You were a board member in addition to, and so we talked about your time on the board, the amount of time you served, what you found most rewarding. So you kind of touched upon it, but
Sure.
As we're wrapping up here, was there anything else in particular that we were really proud of from your service with the board?
Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, if we look, I've got a list in my hand. I don't know how far down the camera goes, but basically, it's hard to remember everything this far after the fact, especially in my situation where in 2019 I had a couple back-to-back TIAs which are mini strokes basically, that put me down for a while. Mostly good, 90-some-odd%, but I don't remember as well as I used to, especially older stuff, so I have to prepare and research. And so I look at what we did during my presidency. You know, at the time that I left office, the Hebrew Free Loan was 79 years old in Dallas. And, you know, the things that we did that were just unusual is we moved to a new office while I was in office.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you'd think that's not that important, but before the giant bequest in 2000 timeframe, there never was an office. It was just out of people's houses. And then the office that we did finally get after that bequest was really, you have your A-grade real estate, B-grade real estate. This was definitely C-grade real estate. But it did the job we needed it to do. And we stayed there forever. We were there from something like 01 until I got us moved in the 2013-14 timeframe. So that's something I was proud of because we actually got a reasonably nice office. And the person that owned the building was an important player in JFS Dallas, so he gave us a very good deal on the rent as a, hey, you're part of the community, let me help you out. So it was really nice of him. While I was in office, we established an endowment account to try and build an endowment. It was very small, and it ended up getting repurposed by not the next president, but the one after that. So that specific one doesn't exist anymore. But I don't remember what it was, but they talked to me about it before they did it, and they had a really good cause for it. So the thought of the endowment when I was thinking of it was operations, because nobody wants to give to operations. They want to give to the people. But if you don't have the operations, you can't run the business of helping the people. So we started a program through gotcha, okay. We started our first angel cosigner program, which the Hebrew Free Loan has those now. There were none ever before my tenure as president, and it was successful enough with the first one that one of our board members started a second one at the time. And so one of the hardest things to get in getting a loan from Hebrew Free Loan is cosigners. And, the angel programs aren't publicized per se because you don't want people to not make the real effort to get the cosigners. And not everybody that can't get cosigners will be given an angel cosigner because there are criteria to make sure people aren't abusing the system, basically. But we started in my tenure the first angel cosigner programs that we'd had. We, modified some of our loan programs. When I first started in Hebrew Free Loan, there was 2 loans. That's it: the general loan and the little $500 emergency loan. And that was it. By the time I left office in 2014, we had something like 5 or 6 loan programs going. And we modified the original loan program to make it a little easier to get, because compared to some of the other programs, it was smaller dollar amount, but it was having all the same stringent criteria. So, and here we go. During my tenure in office, we had expanded the adoption loan program to also allow for in vitro fertilization, so more people could have access to funds that need it. We approved, and at the time that I left office, we're starting to build a small business loan program and Jewish preschool and day school loan programs, which they all have different names now, but they're there. And we had updated our healthcare loan to offer more money and change the requirements to make it available to more potential borrowers, basically. We didn't feel like it was getting the traffic it needed, and so we wanted to make it to where it can do more for the community. And there's a long list here of other little stuff that isn't as important, but those are the big important things we did during my 2 years as president. So, I guess the best way to put it is, started with my dad in the Hebrew Free Loan in the 90s, and he was on the board for somewhere between 10 and 15 years, and probably closer to 15. And he's the one that got me interested. And because of him, and because mostly Hebrew Free Loan, I did more hours with Hebrew Free Loan than every other charity combined. I don't know, B'nai Zion could come close, but because I took his spot on the B'nai Zion board when he died. I did at least 150 hours a year in the community every year from 2003 through now, with the exception of the COVID year, and have, for my volunteer service specifically, been given the National B'nai Zion Community Leadership Award in 2017, and in the last 6 years gotten 3 Presidential Community Service Awards, one from each of the last 2 presidents. So I guess I could say I'm nonpartisan, so it's one from each side of the aisle. And all of that started just because of my dad and the Hebrew Free Loan.
It's really incredible, the legacy that you have continued. Is there anything else you'd like to share about your time with Hebrew Free Loan?
No, I think that pretty much covered most of it.
Fabulous. It was very comprehensive. I scanned through all of the questions and covered everything. Thank you so much for your time today, Louis.
Oh, happy to.